Yeah, if I may, Mayor.
Do we want to spend that money now?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or do we want to let an insurance company pay for it?
Yeah.
We can still, listen, we can still get the money back because we know we paid for the sign. So we can go after the insurance company for the amount because we've already purchased the sign. We can prove what we paid for.
These signs were actually bid out several years ago. I was the low bidder. I think the highest bid was $15,000 a sign. And, I made improvements and, went above and beyond with the type of
You brought them here,
materials
we
and
looked
stuff.
at them, you brought them on the
Yeah.
trailer. I remember
All,
looking at all those.
Aluminum welded, water jet cut letters. There's no plastic. Everything's hand painted. It's in a footer, DOT approved, etc. So, I mean, if you're talking about discount, it's not going to be $1,000 or anything like that. There's really, although it sounds $7,500 is a lot of money. I mean, honestly, and what it takes to put everybody together, from the fabricator to the aluminum to powder coating to the hand painting, the installation, the excavation, is not a lot of money in there. I'm doing it more for the joy of doing it than enriching myself. There's not a lot of money. So I would have to really look at it. I mean, maybe we're talking a few $100s here or there, but, that's just the truth. That's the truth.
Mayor, I would say if we have 6 signs to get, then I would support getting 7 of them to have 1 extra. I don't think I would get 4 extra. I just think that's, that's.
I don't have problem. I'm Doug Dick. I don't have a problem with it. I go along with that.
I just thought if they're going along and 5 years from now, you need more than one and you use one. When you use that one, are we going to try to hunt down and get another reserve one?
Another one at that point, yeah. But you've got one available to you.
Listen, I don't care. I'm just trying to get a better deal.
Well, some of them are different size now, too. So
They are?
one,
thought
we
they
have
were
a
all the
smaller
same
version,
size.
right? Or no? Or do I have
It's
that
been
correct?
talked about. It hasn't
Okay.
been built.
I think they're
All
all
the
the same.
They're all the
sizes,
same
for the most part, are all the same.
All 10 of these would be the same size? Okay.
Yeah, these aren't spares.
Keith has got a legitimate point because we're not 100% sure what the costs are.
I just get concerned.
No,
Mayor,
you're
that-
right,
yeah.
because we don't know.
You don't know
I
the
get what
cost, you don't know the quantity, and you
Yeah.
don't know the size, yet you're considering a resolution.
Well, we can budget the money and put it aside and still negotiate before we buy them, but here or there.
Listen, I don't have any problem tabling it and putting it together so we know specifically what we're getting and how much it's going to cost. I mean, that wouldn't take very long.
Yeah,
it could be
Mayor, if the resolution passes later tonight to make a meeting on February 18th,
yeah.
it's 2 weeks, so you can bring this back in 2 weeks and actually have the final numbers from
Ready to
George
go.
as to what it would cost for 7 signs, what the size are, and everything else.
Make a motion to table.
Okay. I'll make a motion to table it for the meeting on the 18th if that goes through.
Second.
Motion
We
and
need to
a
withdraw-
second
withdraw
to,
the first?
Motion table takes priority.
I'm sorry.
no, I'm sorry, Gary, you,
I was going to say, do Steve and I need to withdraw ours?
yes.
Motion and table takes priority.
Oh,
It
okay.
does, so we don't have to withdraw? Okay.
Sorry.
Maybe second that.
I learn something every day.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second to table this item. Any comments from the public?
No, there's no comment.
No public because we tabled it?
Yes.
Okay.
Tabled, it's done.
We'll speak about it
No,
in 2 weeks.
and-
Mayor, can
Go ahead.
we hold off on the tabling just for a moment,
Just to
just to
let-
let the residents speak? We'd like to
Okay,
hear what they have.
before we do that, okay.
Hi, Dee Schroeder, 5501
Absolutely. We do it all the time for input, absolutely.
I actually sat on that board for a while, and I don't want to take any bread out of anybody's mouth, but you can't base what if they go out of business. Those signs were made special. They are beautiful signs, George, absolutely gorgeous. But I'm almost positive that if something happened 10 years down the road, we could get a sign that looks so close that the average person would never be able to tell. So to take money out of our budget that we're going to use for infrastructure or something else, to put it aside for a sign that maybe coulda, shoulda, woulda, I mean, that to me is not feasible to do. And we did talk about making smaller signs, maybe for, like the one that got tore down on, what's Sterling there, at the intersection. It was a smaller sign. It was really nice, and those could be made. But like I said, to take money out of your budget to set aside to get extra signs just in case, you don't do that. You don't base what ifs, because the signs are basic, even though they were special made for us, someone could reproduce those signs at any given time down the road, and maybe the changes would be so insignificant that the average person wouldn't really notice it, even though they are gorgeous signs, George. I love them, but I just can't see doing that when we really need monies elsewhere for different things that we need for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee.
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. Mr. Mayor, this may take a couple of minutes more. Number one, in these signs, what are happening is that this council, way back in the day in the beginning, when we put our original signs out, the council said that we are an equestrian community and these signs should have equestrian community sign on it. They are not being put back up with these signs. The only one that's still left that I know of is the one down by Publix on Dykes out there. That is the only equestrian community. We are an equestrian community. These signs should be up with every entranceway. Number two, where these signs are being put up by the bobbleheads are not at the town borders. Case in point, the one at 205 is 7/10 of a mile inside our town limits. Where they should go is on US 27 at the C11 Canal and Sterling Road at US 27. That is our entranceways, not 205th Avenue. The other signs where you say on Dykes Road, it should be on the north side of the C11 Canal because that is where our border is, not down Dykes Road. On 185th, the same thing. Bonaventure should be on the north side. You have to remember, where the high school fence is, 6 inches beyond that is our town border. We are the north side of the C11 Canal. None of Weston touches the C11 Canal. Our town sign should be at our borders, not 7/10 of a mile in. If we put it on Sterling Road coming in from Flamingo, 7/10, you'd be at Hancock Road. If we're going to do that, put them all 7/10 in. Then we only need one sign right in the damn middle. Now, let's talk about the resolution. It says nothing about the money. In the past, it has been historically correct that the amount of money you are expending is in that resolution. Not fund balance 001-000-399-39900, $45,000, which you have to look in the middle of the text to find it, in the backup. You're expending $45,000 additional on the $15,000 you already have, yet you told the Parks Board they could not have another $25,000 because the budget wouldn't have it when we were doing the budget. Yet you're willing to take $45,000 now right out of reserves and drop it in. That is not physically responsible. You take the $15,000, just like we have the $100,000 for infrastructure. You live with that, you do the project you can with that, and that's what you do. You don't do the mumbo jumbo of the whereases number 3 and 4 that are in there. You put the actual amount of money. You don't hide the $45,000 transfer from the citizens of this town in the backup. So anyone has to look and hunt. The council needs to instruct staff that every resolution shall have the amount of money in it as it has in the past. And we get rid of this mumbo jumbo, and again, the bobbleheads running the town. Council, become fiscally responsible. You went over $130,000 last year because of the engineer. Now you're starting $45,000 because of the administration wants to do this. I say no. $15,000 is what they live for. And remember, on the town line and with the equestrian community signs as part of it. Thank you.
I'm totally blindsided by the sign thing. Didn't know anything about it. But several of you council members were at the church the other night when we were discussing the signs we had for the upcoming hog roast. You saw the quality of those signs that were there. You noticed we could put a picture of a barbecued pig on an aluminum sign. It is DOT approved. It is inspected on a daily basis from a sign guy in Miami who's in competition with several other sign guys that have the same technology. Everything is digitized. So any artwork, that insignia you got behind you there with the horse and the bird and all that, that can all be duplicated on these aluminum signs if you can accept that for the kind of signage that you want. I have no idea what these plans or specs look like, but certainly, and those things could be done 10 years from now, one at a time. When you have the code and everything put into these machines, boom, you pop out another one. You know, you can have it on thumb drive. As a matter of fact, my signs that we had for that queue, the artwork is on several different media formats. One of them is a thumb drive. But why don't we take a look at this idea and see if it works for you? Thank you.
Debbie Green. I was just gonna. All the signs are beautiful, but now that I'm sitting here and listening to the cost and then contemplating maybe spending another $45,000, it just makes me think. And I know at other meetings when you were talking about budget that you had some windfall of monies that came in from, I don't know, some kind of county tax, or I forget exactly what it was. But just something to think about. I don't know that we need, so many signs throughout the town. Maybe some of that money could be used for purchasing that ALS equipment to put in that new fire truck. That, everyone said that's the most important thing, is having the ALS and life-saving equipment as far as fire equipment. Maybe putting this money that we're putting to, signs are beautiful and all, but maybe just keep in the back of your head, maybe that's a better use of those funds.
Any additional public comment on this item? Seeing none. Council, we have a motion and a second to table. I suspect when it comes back before us that we will have a number, and we will have a price, and whatever needs to be reconciled with George will be reconciled. I feel very confident about that. Any other additional questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, we have motion to table. Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Brikers,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McKay,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Item number 11.
This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving a third amendment to the interlocal agreement for creation of the Broward County Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, authorizing the mayor, town administrator, and town attorney to execute the third amendment and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Russell. Andy?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The MPO voting membership currently consists of 19 municipalities. This is an and I know Councilmember Fisickelli can speak to this, but he attends those meetings as an alternate and is able to obtain a vote at those meetings depending on the attendance of the municipalities that may or may not have, rank ahead of us in population. This will expand the voting membership from 19 to 25, which will, while not ultimately guaranteeing us a vote at every single meeting, it will put the council member in a position to most likely be a voting member at those MPO meetings that he attends as faithfully as he does. So, Mayor, that's all I have. I know Councilmember Fisickelli may want to speak to this a little bit as well.
I'm sorry.
It's yours.
Just on this, this item, adding the members to MPO, Freddie.
Well, as y'all know, when we have these meetings, in most cases I don't have a vote. When it originally started, it was Pembroke Pines and Davie had a vote. If one of them wasn't there, I had a vote. They changed that around now to where, in most cases, we still have a vote. but in some cases we don't. And this would increase the times that we would have a vote.
Increase the chances anyway, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none. Motion and a second approve. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns, council? Seeing none. Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Brightcrus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McKay?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Item number 12, which is a discussion item. It is time for the annual review for the town administrator, the financial administrator, and we're also going to include the town clerk. At this time, I think, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's up to you agenda-wise, but we have the add-on agenda to move the meeting from February 11th to February 18th. If you want to do that reso now, to get all the resos out of the way, and then the rest of the meeting can just be occupied.
Okay, that's fine.
And do
That's
the
fine.
minutes, and then the
That's
rest
good
can be
suggestion.
occupied
Good
by
suggestion, Keith.
discussion.
Anybody have any objections to moving the February 11th meeting to the February 18th meeting? I know that there's things that they're working on that require probably another week to get reconciled, and that's the only reason, quite frankly, for the
So what do you want, a motion to
recommendation.
move it?
To move it from February 11th to February 18th.
Make a motion to move this item from February 11th to February 18th.
Just reading the resolution.
Second.
Mayor, would you like me to read the resolution?
Yes, please, Russell, for the record.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, rescheduling the Town Council meeting of February 11, 2016 to February 18, 2016, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Russell. So it's to reschedule the meeting from February 11th to February 18th.
Okay.
I'm
Make a
sorry,
motion to change it from the 11th to the 18th.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second to approve. Any members of the public wish to comment on this meeting change? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Again, we have a motion and a second to approve a meeting change from February 11th to February the 18th. Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Brightcrus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McKay?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Then, Mayor, the
Approval
final
of the minutes?
issue would be the minutes. And
Do you mind taking minutes out of order, council? The approval of minutes for December 10, 2015 regular town council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any members of the public? Because I know you read the minutes, and you do correct us occasionally. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Again, we got a motion and a second to approve the minutes of December 10, 215 regular town council meeting. Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Brightcrus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McKay?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Item number 14, this meeting, no, I'm just kidding. We're going back to item number 12, and again, the discussion item concerning the annual review for the town administrator, town financial administrator, and for the town clerk. And I think it would be appropriate at this time would be, if it's all right with you, Counselor, for Keith to do the presentation.
Sounds good.
Well, you know, Mayor, at this time of year in general is when Andy comes to speak to me about the year prior and the successes of himself and the organization, and to see if what I know about the council's feelings about him and his organization. And he comes up with a lot of numbers. He gets our consultant, I think it's ADP, or one of our consultants, to do an analysis of similarly sized cities in Broward County and what it pays its staffers. He prints articles from other cities to show me what they pay their staff and bonuses that their administration receives. And then he also provides us, me, including the council, with a list of things that they were looking for as a result of their successes in the prior year in the direction that they're heading with the town. Obviously, this meeting is required by your charter and Andy's contract and Marty's contract, maybe even Russell's contract, I just don't remember, to do a annual review of them to not only speak about the highlights, the lowlights, but also to review compensation issues. Andy has provided me with compensation for their list of what he's seeking, what Marty's seeking, what Russell's seeking. I've provided the entire council with exactly what I had received, as well as comments that I had to what they were seeking based on my review of all the information that was provided. I think I tried to delineate it basically into 4 main areas for each of them, 3, I think, for Russell. What I'd like to do, Mayor, to help facilitate your discussion, this is all policy decision, and I will just be here to help facilitate it, is to let me know who you want to start with first, and then I can announce for the public what their request was, what I saw by looking at everything, and then go from there.
I think that the consensus is the clerk.
Okay. As you all may recall, last year, Russell changed his job duties. You all approved a change in title to also make Russell the Assistant Town Administrator. As a result of his additional job duties, Russell has provided us with a request to change his annual compensation and a request to increase his PTO's days. Specifically, his request, as a result of his new duties, which I'm sure you can speak to him about or elaborate further, he's seeking to modify his annual compensation from $88,000 to $100,000. I did the research, and what I found on similarly sized cities is that the average salary for a clerk is $89,500. The issue is that Russell is now an administrative assistant administrator, and as a result, he has additional duties. There's almost no municipality that I could find readily where an assistant administrator was also the town clerk. There's not that real delineation in cities. So all I had to go by was an average assistant administrator in a similarly sized city and a city clerk, and the numbers are so great between the two. I think the lowest assistant city manager in all of Broward County was $110,000 with significant benefits, and I think that was Wilton Manors, if I looked at the sheet properly.
City clerk.
No, assistant city manager. Yeah. That was the lowest. The highest, it was well into the 200 plus range. So I came back after looking at all the information, and I said, that based on that, I could be able to suggest to you all that Russell's salary be increased, if you so deem it appropriate, to $95,000. I then said I would agree or recommend to you all that the PTO changed from 20 to 25 days with the 10-day rollover, which is essentially what the other administration was looking for. It's never been an issue in this town previously. And then I'd put the caveat in that if he quits, the PTO payment is only based on the original amount, the 20 days, and that he wouldn't get the additional 10 PTO days. Since I sent this to the council, Russell called me. I think we spoke very late last night about his job duties and where I came at in my thoughts and what his thoughts were. What Russell has proposed to the council for your consideration is he believes that based on the job duties that he now entails, that he still considers 100 to be the appropriate number for an assistant administrator and combination town clerk. What Russell is proposing to you all tonight, that if the council deems his job to warrant it, that he would request the salary increase to 100, but in exchange for that, he will guarantee the town that should he no longer be here by December 31st, 2018, he would give back to the town the prorated version of his salary between the 95 that I recommended and the $100,000, so that the town is essentially buying 3-year commitment from Russell to maintain here as assistant administrator and town clerk if you deem it to be appropriate. I said based on the lock that I would mention it to you all because I feel a lock on any employee that you feel is doing a good job is vitally important. I think one of the hardest things that has been in this town is the constant changes of both the clerk, administrator, engineer, and that has been the hardest thing to deal with because once someone leaves, the projects come to a standstill. And as a result of that, with Andy, you did, I think he's through 2019 based on last year. Marty's the same thing, I think, guaranteed through 2019. So Russell, if you recall last year, wouldn't agree to the lock, but now he's saying that if his salary is adjusted accordingly, should you deem it to be appropriate, that he would accept a 3-year lock-in in the town at no deficit to the town. So, Mayor, it's here for your consideration. It's both a review of Russell and a review of what he requested.
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it, and appreciate you taking the time to put all this together. I know Andy didn't feel comfortable, and we've done it this way in the past, and we appreciate you taking the time to do it this way. Council, it's you heard the parameters, and you heard the summary. You heard what's being requested, and hope that it would be considered. And interested in hearing from everybody, obviously. Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I really just want to make a comment, a general comment, not specifically regarding the clerk position, but certainly not excluding the clerk position either. But just from an overall standpoint, when I look at where we are today, the thing that really stands out to me is that we have a very strong administrative team right now. We have a team. And it works. Yeah, exactly. And while I give Andy the lion's share of the credit for that, I believe that it's the whole team. And it doesn't stop with these 3 positions. It flows down through the entire staff. But I think that these 3 positions are the key positions that have built that and that are able to maintain that. And so when I look at all the projects that we've got going on, both from an engineering standpoint, but also from all the events and all, just all the activities and how things are growing and building and all the successes that we've had over the last few years while this team has been in place. Yeah, it's remarkable, and that to me is worth a lot. Not to say that we give away the farm. That's not. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying we, just give away the farm. But I think it's that what they, as a team, have brought to the table is worth a lot of value to me, and I think it's something that is to be recognized. So, with that said, I'm going to stop there for a second. Not that I don't have more to say, but I'm going to stop there. I want to hear what people have to say about this particular position.
Who's next? Anybody next? All right, I'll step up. Couple of things. There's no question that these 3 positions we're looking at tonight are absolutely the glue that keeps things running smoothly. So let me thank and commend all 3 of you guys before we get down the road here. That we greatly appreciate you guys. You do a great job for us, and thank you very much. Andy, you've done a stupendous job, and we're grateful to have you. And I personally want to be in a position that we keep you guys a little bit longer. I know you're committing to time on staying, but the only hiccup here on the one increase on Russell on your slot is the percentage increase is kind of unheard of in this economy in this day and age. Not that you don't deserve it, don't get me wrong in that capacity. And I greatly appreciate you locking into staying to that length of time. But me personally, I'm going to ask you on that basis and at that number, if you would consider giving us one additional year to lock us in. That's just me personally. So just think about that as everybody else talks. So that's where I'm at. And Andy, the same's going to apply to you. I won't leave Marty out.
Freddie, Gary?
Gary, you want to go?
I'll go. We have a pretty good team. They're doing a great job, and everything's getting done. Very seamless transition when Andy takes off, Russell picks up. We haven't had that in the first 10 years.
No hiccups.
12 years that we were here. And the one thing I always thought in the last year that was missing was the long-term commitment from the clerk, and I think we've got that, and I think that's worth quite a bit to maintain that. But I'd love to get 10 more years out of these guys, but we need to be realistic in the marketplace.
Right.
And if we can get another year out of all of them, that's on top, make it 2020. That's great.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd all vote for that with no problem. So we'll see how this all shakes out. But I'm all for it with the time commitments. So.
Freddie?
Yeah. Fortunately, I've been on both sides of this thing. Astor sitting there, right? They were smiling too. One of the situations we were put at Astor, and I was almost run out of town. But I think it worked out to our advantage, and I'm very fortunate that we don't have to think about that now. We have two people here that's done unreasonable good service as far as I'm concerned, and I just want to thank them for doing what they have done because it's very important to our town. They built a team that I think will match any team around, and they've shown that in many meetings and many situations, and I think whatever they get, they deserve.
Ditto, 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 and ditto. And the other thing too, just to put something else into perspective too, because this really hit me as part of my research, and it's not as much Russell as it is with Marty and it is with Andy. And as you all remember, last year, we put $400,000 in reserves. And since we've been here, just by my records with those guys in charge, and Russell came by a little bit later, but with Andy and Marty at the helm, by my estimation, we've added about almost $1.9 million to our reserves. That's unprecedented. I mean, that's just absolutely unbelievable. Yes, you're exactly right. Darn near doubled. And what we're contemplating tonight, if we give them everything that they're asking for, is, with regards to the salary increases, about $27,000. Now, there are some other benefits that need to be added into that, but with regards to the salary increase, it adds $27,000. But I just want to put that into perspective. That is very significant to me. I don't think we've had a better group, a better crew, and these are the three of the most important positions we have in the town of Southwest Ranches, and I would set them up against any municipality. And as everybody knows, we've had some significant issues. Some very significant issues. We've accomplished a lot of things that have been very, very difficult and very, very technical, but there hasn't been anything that, not only these three guys up here, but our support staff, we haven't been able to accomplish, address, and bring to fruition in a positive light. No matter what the obstacles are, their philosophy has always been they're meant to be overcome. They never use them as an excuse to get in the way to ensure failure. We always figure out a way. But we're very blessed and very fortunate to have these three guys, three of the most important positions in the town of Southwest Ranches, and I wholeheartedly concur and agree with what you guys said and what your comments are, and I have no problem. I agree with you. If we could get another year out of them, I would like that very much because I know that we'll have them for another 4 years for obvious reasons. And we're just very, very fortunate to have dedicated professionals who have, that work hard, that have accomplished so much in the few years, 2012, so we're looking at about 4 years now. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. We've never had a better team, and I'm just so thrilled. And that's one of the reasons, too, why we, are up here most of the time, having a consensus. Because, they put these projects together, they put these things together where it's not that difficult to build a consensus. They put it into organize these things. That's exactly right. They do their homework. They understand where we come from, our personalities, our concerns, and so they take all that in as part of the process, depending upon what the issue is, and they incorporate that so that all of us, while we don't always get 100% of what we want, there's always bits and pieces so that that we can improve it. But I'm just thrilled. They're just exceptional. I put them up against anybody, any municipality in Broward County, any municipality in the state. I think we're so fortunate to have the team that we have, and based upon history, I certainly support this, and I think that they deserve what they're asking.
Mayor, if I may, they make us look good and definitely make our job a lot easier up here. So, but I have one other curveball to throw.
Sure.
Any way we can get you to stay?
Listen, I'm absolutely thrilled. It doesn't get any better than this. Listen, this is a family to me, and this town of Southwest Ranches is something very, very special. And we've accomplished a lot of things together, and there are a few more things that we still need.
Equally as good a team.
We still need to accomplish, and it's just listen. It's a pleasure coming here often. It's a pleasure being part of this team. I mean, really, very rarely do you go home with a headache or concerns because we just figured out it's just a great environment, great working atmosphere. You guys care, you're passionate about doing the right things for this town and its residents, and it's just so unique and cool. And to be here as the mayor leading that charge is just remarkable, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful every day. But I do appreciate that comment very much, Doug. That's for sure. So. Getting back to Russell's situation, I get the impression that nobody has any problems with what's being suggested or recommended. And just to confirm, Keith?
Well, what I would want, Mayor, is
Okay.
normally what we do is, if depending on how the council chooses, if it chooses to make a good recommendation and modification of the staff's contracts, we generally codify whatever your motion is tonight and put it in a resolution. We don't normally bring it back before you because then it's redebated the same exact issue, but we codify it for our records. We do a contractual amendment, and then we make it effective on January 1 because that's generally what we've always done in the past. So if there is a motion to support what I've stated, then we would go ahead and do it that way.
And I think that it is a majority support of what's been stated, although there is an outstanding issue, and it's been brought up by, I believe, everybody, and that's the additional year. And we'll start with you, Russell, because you're the first one up. We're asking for not a 3-year guarantee, but a 4-year guarantee. And understanding, obviously, that there is a mechanism, that there is an out, but you'd have to refund prorate the difference. So,
Mayor,
and believe me, if we didn't like you and confirm that you do a great job for us, I promise you wouldn't be asking you for another year.
And Mayor, thank you first of all for the opportunity. I'm very honored, very flattered that you would want to have me here for 4 years. As I said last year, I don't think my wife knows that she wants to keep me around that long just yet. So I do appreciate that. It's truly a pleasure to work here. Andy sets the tone for the town, as you all know very well, and it's very easy to work in a great environment that he sets, and for us to all be inspired by that and do the best job that we can. So I just wanted to thank him for that, first of all. As far as the time commitment is concerned, the time commitment works both ways from the standpoint of myself agreeing to that time, and also, in a sense, the town is committing also to have me around for that time. I would want to prove to the town that you want me around that long. So I don't know that I don't know that that's the best for both the town and for myself for us to agree to a 4-year time frame. I think a 3-year time frame, I think, is a relatively good time for us to evaluate that. And in a couple of years, if you decide that you want to keep me around for another 2 years, 3 years, we can certainly cross that bridge when we get to it.
If you're, no, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I get the impression your response is that, listen, I want to prove myself, I still want to be given an opportunity to do that. I think what this council is saying unanimously that you've proven yourself. There isn't anything else that you need to do for us.
Hey, Mayor Russell's being super nice. I would have just said no way, and that would have ended the discussion. He was just hedging his comments, and the reason I know that is because I spoke to him for over an hour last night, and a 3-year was no way until I really think I wore him down because he had to go to sleep. But I think that's how we got to 3 years. But Russell, they're just, you need to be straight with them and tell them what you told me.
I think 3 years is what I can live with at this time. And again, I love working here. I don't see anything. It's not like I have plans to make a move. It's just that obviously we don't know what the market's going to be in 4 years. We don't know what the environmental conditions are going to be in 4 years. And so I'd like to reserve that and just maintain a 3-year at this point.
That hurt.
Listen, I respect
I'm sorry.
it. No, that's what I respect that. Listen, we went from probably 0 to 3, and then again, it's a discussion item. It'll come back. No, it won't either. I'm sorry. You're right. It is a discussion. We are interested, obviously, the feedback. Listen, that doesn't hurt me or bother me. I'd like to get another year. I understand. I hear you.
Yeah, but I kind of look at it this way. It's a great negotiating tactic for next year.
Good point. You know what?
Next
You're right.
year.
Absolutely. Yeah, once a year, annual review.
Yeah, annual reviews every year.
Okay, so we got the 3. No, I understand. I just want to make sure we all, just to confirm where we are. He's given us a 3-year guarantee with, right, if he leaves before then, to give us a refund, prorated refund. The salary would be $100,000 a year as our town clerk / assistant town manager. Let's see.
The PTO would increase
Yeah, the
as
PTO
everyone
would go
is,
from 20 to 25 days with a 10-day rollover.
but you don't get the credit for the additional days if you leave early.
Okay, don't get credit for the additional days if he,
You don't have to pay for it.
right, exactly. And that is just about it. Everybody on board with, am I missing something, Keith?
No.
Everybody on board with that?
I'm still thinking.
Okay.
We would need a motion before.
Yeah, right, Doug's thinking.
You want to do public comment in the meantime?
No, yeah, we'll get a motion in a second.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion,
Second.
as was described by the mayor.
Motion in a second. Now we can open up for public comment.
This isn't really going to be bad, Russell. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
And you haven't really been with us all that long. $95,000 a year is what Keith came up, and I really don't think that's unreasonable. I think that's a very fair offer. Something I wanted to say was, you can't be a great leader and do things without having good foundation. This is the best team, and I'm excluding Andy because they were a team before Andy came in, and Andy made it better. And then you came and made it good, and Marty came in and made it good. But this was a great team. I would like to see these men get a raise. I mean, truly, I would. But I want to give credit to some of the people sitting out here. December's gone right now, but Sandy's here, and Robert, Emily.
Absolutely.
These are the guts of your town. They make your job easy. They keep you informed. They let you know what's going on. And they're really, 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 whether you like it or not, they're more connected with us than you are. You people sitting up there a lot of times are considered intimidation. People are nervous. They're not comfortable. We can go to them anytime we want. We're not uncomfortable. Some of them are our residents.
That better not apply to me.
Me neither.
Yes. If you want to stay with us, it's all about choices. And hopefully you'll make that choice. You talk about you don't know what the economy is going to be. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. You could walk out the door and a bomb could drop and boom, the United States is gone. There's no guarantees with anything. So it's a chance that you have to take, not us. When we hired, and I say we because everybody was happy with the decisions that were made, when we hired you, you were hired as the clerk, and you've done a great job. If you took on extra responsibilities, I know from knowing things about you from the past that you are a go-getter, you're not lazy, you don't just schlep through stuff. You know, you're not going to let no grass grow under your feet. And these are the things that we all look for. But again, that's a lot of raise. And my question to all of you is, have you worked together to have a cap for us? You can't work in this town and get $500,000 a year. You can't sit there as mayor and get $250,000. We don't take in that kind of money unless you're going to increase our taxes. And if you do that and make it totally uncomfortable, well, unfortunately, we're just going to get rid of you because that's what we do. We're just going to find something that works. No matter what, you might execute, but you are listening to our needs and our wants, our town, our way. So like I said, I don't think $90-some thousand, that's a $6,000 increase a year, is a fair amount. And then next year, if you want to bring it back and they'll allow you to, and negotiations can happen again, I don't see where that would be totally unreasonable. But to take that kind of an increase right now, and like I said, I know you took on another title also with it, but you have to understand the way we feel and our budgets and our monies and what we would like to see. And the bottom line is, if we're uncomfortable with it, then you should have reservations and really think about it a little more clearly. Thank you.
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. Russell's done a 99% great job. A couple of the things that I said this evening were directed at him. Resolutions, when they come forward, historically, they have always had the numerical amount that it's going to cost in the resolution, not in the backup, in the fine print. That needs to be corrected. The other thing is that before a document is put forth, it needs to be vetted so you don't have the resolution problems or in the whereases that you had that's going to Broward County, where the actual truth is there. That needs to be vetted, and that is his responsibility. Third thing is that when a document is published in the backup, you don't say things like Russell is part of the engineering department. And I understood, I discussed that with him before the meeting. And he says that will never show up because we're changing over the system in the future. Well, it showed up tonight. An individual that has not been here would say that both our clerk and our finance director were part of the engineering department. What are they doing sitting as our finance director and our clerk. It's right there in black and white. These are errors that need to be taken care of. Okay, it's a little bit of dust that's in the corner. But those corners need to be cleaned out so when a product comes to the council and to the citizens of our town, it is correct, it is the truth, and it gives the amount that it's going to cost without having someone having to dig through tons of documents. It's called truth in truth. And it's that simple, and we've always been that way, and we need to continue to be that way and not somewhere else. So if you're going to put something in place, do it historically the way we've done it, but modify it to the new needs. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing no further public comment is now closed. Council, any additional questions, comments, clarifications, or concerns?
Yes.
Doug?
Question. Russell, the difference between 95 and 100 is $417 a month. So if you'd make the commitment tonight for the additional year, I'll go along with 100. If not, I want to go with the 95, and we'll address it next year to see if you give me the extra year, I'll go to 100 next year.
If you feel comfortable answering, Russell, that's certainly be appropriate. I hear what. Listen, I don't disagree with Doug. I hear what he's saying. We want you, Russell.
Mayor, and I really,
$417 a month. I just wanted to put the number down monthly. By the way, we'll head on like Shark Tank. Do you want to go in the back and call your wife?
I may need to. You know, I don't mean to sound like I'm not.
I mean, because that's still a good increase to 95,000. It's still a good increase. Not where you want to be, but it's a good increase.
It's certain, Vice Mayor. It certainly is a good increase, and it's certainly I'm very appreciative that you all are even entertaining this. I'm very thankful for that. But certainly, you know, as the research points out, you know, the assistant town administrator position is certainly. You know, the compensation level there is very different, obviously, in other municipalities. You know, I recognize that we're kind of, you know, we're a unique town. We don't have the size and the revenues that other towns have. I recognize that. I recognize that when I made my request. I took that into consideration. If you were, as Mr. Polyakov indicated, if you were to look at what the lowest salary is for an assistant town administrator, it's far above what I'm asking for. So I believe that my request is reasonable. Last year, I was not willing to take on the commitment of the time, and I think there might have been some concern from members of the council that maybe I didn't want to stay here and that maybe there was a commitment. I think I've demonstrated tonight that I'm willing to stay at the very least until 2018. I think that's a marked step forward in my commitment to the town to show you that I want to be here. I do want to be here. And again, I do want to prove myself. There's more for me to prove. I don't intend on sitting on my laurels on what I've accomplished to this point. There's more for Andy, myself, Marty, and the rest of the staff to do here. We have more work to be done. And I want to prove that to you. So
I think the answer is no.
Yeah, sounds like the answer is no. So for me, on my position, I'll go along at 95, and you won't commit to the additional one, and we'll address it again next year.
Steve?
I just make one final comment, and that is that Russell, I respect what you're saying, and I think there's an element of it that you know, there's few things in life that you can really guarantee for 3 years, even 3 years. So I think this is and I think the other element of it is that, you know, you're an individual that has a lot to offer. We recognize that. You recognize that. We don't know where we're going to be. If you had no ambition to go any other place, to do any other thing, then you know what? We don't want you in that job. And I think, to me, that's what you're showing me, is that you're willing to make a commitment to this town for the next 3 years, but you have ambitions. And I recognize that, and I'm not going to penalize that. So I feel comfortable with the 3-year commitment and would go with that.
And listen, I do too. And you threw it out there, Doug, and we tried, and along the same lines, Steve, I agree with you. So we have a motion, and the motion, did you make the motion? Freddie, I think, seconded it. And everybody, Keith, you don't need any more clarification. We know where we are with regards to this. We have a motion and a second to prove what we all agreed to. That's been confirmed, and it's clear in Keith's mind. Russ, will you call the question, please?
Councilmember Jablonski.
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli.
Yes.
Councilmember Brikers.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McKay.
No.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Okay. Congratulations, Russell, you're out of the way. Congratulations from both parties, from both parties. Okay, Marty Sherwood.
Sure. Mayor, it's interesting when we get to finance, because as we're sitting here, my Sun Sentinel popped up that said Hollywood immediately debates internal auditor after they find $1 million mistake on their books. And the irony is, I know if Marty was there, there's no way that would occur. Because while you were saying previously that the town put over $400,000 in reserves, Marty was grabbing me and say, no, it was $534,500 and something, he was saying, in reserves.
If you say that's what it is, Marty, that's what it is.
Yeah, for 1 year.
Yes, so that last year was actually $534,000 and change, Mayor, almost $500,000. From my standpoint, and I deal with a lot of municipalities, the town got very lucky that Marty wanted to live more closer to home. That's just a reality. There's no doubt in my mind that he could do this job at any single municipality in the state of Florida and be as successful at it. In 16 years, I don't think our books and records have ever looked as good or been as easy to follow, even by non-financial people. Marty came forward and wrote a request to Andy in an incredibly long memorandum that I don't know if all you got. I stopped reading it after the first page. But Marty was seeking an increase in compensation from 118 to 128. He was seeking 20 weeks' pay if terminated without cause. Obviously, with cause, there's nothing would be required. And he was seeking to increase his PTO, as everyone else had, from 20 to 25 days with the 10-day rollover. And he was seeking a change in his contract to allow salary increases from supermajority to simple majority. After discussion and review of all the materials, this is what I suggested. I think Marty was asking for a little bit too much on his compensation again. When I looked at all of the materials provided to me by both ADP and Andy, the exact midpoint for all financial administrators in any municipality our size across the state of Florida was 126. And therefore, I couldn't recommend to you all going beyond the number that is the average number within a community our size. I would not also agree with his request to do a maximum of 20 weeks pay if terminated without cause. 20 weeks is by far the maximum allowed by state law. And I don't find many municipalities, if any, have ever gotten anywhere near there as a result of the recent legal challenges dealing with that. I think that the most reasonable, in my opinion, would be 10 weeks, which would be a 20% severance. Again, that's without cause. That's if you just wanted to get rid of him because of a political change or because you all had someone else in mind. So I would recommend 10 weeks on that. Again, I think the PTO dates is fair with the caveat that you don't get paid for the additional days if you happen to leave. I would not recommend, and I would deny the request to modify salaries via simple majority to supermajority. I believe that our charter have protections and the town's contracts have protections to ensure that it would only be done by supermajority. So those are my recommendations as it relates to Marty. It's here for your discussion.
What's Marty's time?
Thank you, Keith.
What's his contract?
Marty contract period goes through 2019,
2019,
which would be a year after Russell, which would coincide with our election schedule.
Okay.
so that's 4 years.
I'd like to go to 20. I don't have a problem paying this 28 and going to 20. So if it adds a year, instead of the 126, I'll go to 128.
And just for the record, Keith, and I appreciate you doing the research and the average salary, Marty's not average. Marty's way above average. You know, and I know when you say average, you just looked at the salary. I know where you came from to set up a benchmark, but in my mind, Marty is far from average. He is exceptional, and this council knows that. I don't have to tell you. I mean, I could sit here for an hour and go through all the accomplishments that are directly attributed to Marty, the things that he's changed, the things that he's done. I mean, it's just remarkable. The things that are going on now that are just absolutely unbelievable, what he's accomplishing. You know, that quite frankly, I was very concerned would even be possible. I don't listen, I'd like to get another year out of Marty, only because the town's, the town would benefit. I have no problem with the request for 128 and all the other things with the 10 weeks pay without cause, which is a 20% severance, 20 to 25 days PTO with a 10-day rollover. I don't have any issues with that, and hopefully Marty doesn't either. But it just doesn't get better, Marty. Doesn't get any better than that. He's as good as they come, and by far the best financial administrator. This, and I'm going record, been here a long time, and all of us
what's his
very
thoughts?
familiar with the history. I'm going to get in that in just a second. I got to build it up first.
I noticed.
And I'm not building up. I'm just being factual, and that's the truth. We have never had a better financial administrator history of the short history of this town. So if we don't ask, then it's not part of the conversation. But I agree with Doug, and I suspect that the others up here on the council would also not have any problem if we could get you to commit another year to 2020. And with everything that, any other council member haven't spoken, would you like them to speak first and then respond, Marty? That's probably not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Steve?
Yeah, we'll give him a little time to think about that one.
Absolutely. He might want to change his script.
That's right. That's right. I really just want to say a few words. Just, Mayor, you said it very well. I think the only thing that I would add to that is I honestly don't think there's been a year that Marty's been here that he hasn't paid for his salary in one way or another, either savings in one place or additional revenue in another place, and that's where that additional reserves come from, or in a lot of ways that he's been able to find ways. So, and he's, like you said, he's working on one right now. So, I will reiterate, Marty. We want to lock you in, buddy.
You did just move closer.
Yeah. If I would really hope that you would consider that. We don't want you going anywhere, and we really value what you bring to this town, the person that you are, your commitment to this town, and all that you do. As far as the specific proposal itself, I am comfortable with the 128. I think that would be great, especially for an additional year. The PTO days, I'm good with that. The supermajority, I would want to retain that the way it is. I do have a thought that I would throw out for the council's consideration regarding the severance pay, if it's for a without cause situation. And that is that I'd kind of like to see for Marty and for Andy actually, kind of a step up, kind of something that the longer they're here, that provides a little bit more safety for them, an incentive. Yeah. So I would like to see something like 10 weeks this year, and then the agreement to maybe step it up 1 or 2 weeks a year, up to a maximum. I'm not saying forever, but up to a maximum of maybe 14 weeks for Marty and 16 weeks for Andy, something like that. If you all would consider something like that.
Listen, I don't have an issue with that, especially since he was asking for 20 weeks initially.
Right.
I'm okay with it.
So those are my thoughts.
I don't have any issues with that. Gary?
I just want to make sure I understand the council. The council saying that it's interested in going to 128, provided that Marty agrees to an additional year extension on the contract.
Correct.
That the council's interested in giving him the additional PTO days. That the council's interested in giving him 10 weeks now plus 1 week a year for the next 4 years for the maximum of 14 weeks. And deny the request to modify salary, keep it as a supermajority. And the caveat that if he quits, the PTO days are not paid for.
That's correct.
Gary?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, and just by giving my experiences here at Town Hall with the team that we have right now. When I come here at 7, 8 o'clock at night, Marty usually comes out and grabs some water, and he goes back to his office, and then I see him leave around 8. 5 o'clock in the morning, I shoot Andy an email, and I get an answer back at 5:15. The weekends, something goes wrong that I need to be notified by, and it's Russell telling me. To me, that kind of dedication speaks volumes for the team. And I'm just giving the television audience what we do, what we get on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or as situation dictates. And I don't think we're ever going to find a more dedicated team. And I consider all of this an investment, just like our infrastructure, roads, whatever we need to have. We have assembled the best team I think we can possibly get, and we need to take care of it. So I'm all on board with all the incentives and the packages.
Great. Freddie?
Yeah, I agree with everything just said before. I know I come here a lot for different meetings, and sometimes these meetings start at 7 o'clock, and we're in those meetings, and I see a guy passing me going out. He's just going home. He's not an 8 to 5 man. I mean, he never has been. And I think he's got everything in his heart for our town. I don't think we could find a better person, and I agree with what he's asking for.
Great.
We can't say enough.
Now, how about that another year?
Yeah. I was getting ready to say.
Marty, you got a beautiful new house on a lake. You know, it's kind of like the Shark Tank. Do you want to go call your wife?
And almost everything
Because I think she'll agree.
Almost everything you asked for.
Much more than I recommended.
And even more than what Keith recommended.
Your mic's not on.
Use the other one, Marty.
Okay, this is working. Good. All right, thank you all. Comments were very well appreciated. The year has been a tremendous success. I provided you all with a detailed 5-page update of the accomplishments and goals expected and reached. I'm especially proud by the entire team. As the fact that this is the first with my long governmental career town that has accomplished 2 grand openings, the Rolling Oaks Barn, Country Estates Park. The fact that we came forward with the Tisdor, making great in-ground paving going on as we speak. It's tremendous. I'm very, very happy for the team. The management, as you mentioned, has been fantastic. But getting into the specifics, the most important thing that I really appreciate here is stability. And the stability with you all here. It's the first time in my career that now shortly approaching the 4th year that I have not had a change in council direction. There's been continuous with all 5 of you for the entire period of time, which has made it a pleasure. We've come a long way. We've had a lot of ups and downs, but that's normal. It's part of the political process. So stability from the political sense, but also stability from the management sense. Andy Burns has been ideal. At this point, I feel 2019 is sufficient. I originally agreed to the 2019 was to coincide with Andy's contract.
We're working on him next.
So,
how about a conditional okay?
There you go. How about a conditional okay? Conditional
well, I was going to throw the caveat back that the extra year is contingent, as the vice mayor said, on the mayor. Okay, whether I could turn it around, turn it back to you guys, but no, I wouldn't do that.
We can give you an idea.
So, I'd be willing to acquiesce if we can get feedback from Mr. Burns of direction if he's going, but I'd be willing to go to the 2020 for the full request for compensation.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Be careful, Andy.
Well, no, you got.
No, I'm not there yet. I just want
Was it motion made?
I think that it is unanimous. I think we've given you a confirmation. Are there any questions?
No, I just summed it up. So I asked Russell if there's a motion on the table. There isn't. If someone could just make a motion accepting what I had just stated, if that's what you desire.
I'll make a motion to propose for Marty the proposal that Keith put on the record.
Except from 126 to 128.
Right, with the caveat for the additional year.
And with the caveat for the addition.
That we're going to work on
Additional year and the additional week.
I got that.
Yeah, that's what I thought was all part of the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
Great. Any of the public wish to comment? Even though it is a discussion item, we value your input.
Again, Marty, you've done a great job. Everybody knows you've done a very good job. But again, I address all of you to have a cap. You can't just keep going on wages because eventually you will run out of money and then you won't be able to fix the roads or you'll have to raise our taxes, and we don't want the taxes raised. That's a sufficient amount of money for the year. It's less. It's actually less than what Russell got. That's as far as dollars. And again, your job is made not easy, but better for you because of what you have working with you, the people of this town. So I want to stress to you, and I know they go through all their evaluations or whatever it is that you do, that you take into consideration how they make each and every one of your jobs easier, how they keep you informed, what they discuss with him, what they discuss with him. They're the guts of this. And you have a town attorney giving you advice, and so far, twice, you've ignored it. So, sorry, Keith, I think you should have take at least a 10% cut. Thank you.
D, I recommended against them giving John Canada a severance, and it was approved 4-1.
Not by this council.
Not by this council, but I will tell you, I sat on that council, and I was the one that voted against it. Yeah, I voted no, I promise you.
Well, actually, I should have started with Russell because I think he's still part of this great team. And whatever Marty asked for, he is well deserving of it. Because although, as Dean said, we should have a cap, but he is giving us a greater cap every year to go up. So therefore, he needs a compensation to compensate for all the effort that he puts in. And as Freddie says, 8 o'clock, he's here. Early morning, he's here. I mean, you know, I don't know if the guy has a home. And so, so anyway, I agree with the council for what they have recommended. And sorry, Keith, we have to go against you in this case. But anyway, thank you for all your service you have done, and I think you well deserve what you're asking for.
Thank you, Esther.
Thank you, Esther.
Any other public comment? See no more public comment. Public comment is now closed. Again, we have a motion and a second, and the package is clear. Anybody have any questions? Anybody need clarification? See no questions or clarification. Russell, call the question, please.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McKay?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Absolutely.
All right, let's hit the home run.
All right, Mayor.
Keith, Andy's turn.
Yeah, this will be another one you'll disagree with, so I should turn it over to you first. But in this case, it was a little bit different. Andy came to me, and this year was really harping on his staff. He made it well known to us that he's moved to his death house, and as a result,
And I've been there.
money is not as important to him as it once was, and therefore he kept telling me, just make sure that we can get Marty what he's looking for and Russell what he's looking for, because as members of my team, without them here, my job would be incredibly difficult, and I wouldn't, enjoy it as much as I do today. And I thought that was very admirable of Andy saying. The interesting thing is, a lot of people may not remember, but I think Andy's entering his 4th year now as being the town administrator, which is almost a record here. And what's interesting about that is I still remember when I received a phone call 4 years ago from Sam Gorin, and he said, Keith, there's this great guy in Tamarack who is really educated, could really do it. He's never done it before, but I really think you ought to speak to him and see whether or not he'd be a good candidate to apply. I said, sure, Sam, I'd love to speak to anyone you'd recommend. I called Jeff on the phone. I said, Sam's sending a spy. So I can assure you all that after 4 years that Andy has clearly joined the Jedis, and gets to see the difference and has moved from that side. So based on Andy seeking, and again, I can't compliment Andy as well as Marty and Russell enough. Andy could definitely do this job anywhere, and that's why I always look over my shoulder to see what administrative positions are open, and call constantly asking if Andy Burns submitted his resume to try to protect us as best as possible. And again, you do get what you really got lucky, and in this case, we really did with a solid administrator. Andy called and said, listen, when we met actually at Town Hall, he said, between Marty and myself, we put another $534,000 into reserves. Most city managers would get a substantial bonus for putting that much in reserves and cutting that much from the budget in a year, but he was only seeking a 2% bonus, which was $3,000. I looked at him, I said, you're seeking a 2% bonus. I said, that's probably the lowest I've ever seen, and we do a lot of cities. I said, that's the lowest I've ever even heard of. And again, he kept reiterating to me that the goal this year was for Marty and Russell. He was seeking 20 weeks pay if terminated. We've previously spoken about that. And he was seeking to increase his PTO again from 20 to 25 days with the rollover. And he was seeking again to modify his contract to allow his contract to be modified by from supermajority to simple majority. After meeting with Andy and doing a tremendous amount of research, I in his case, went against what he was seeking almost across the board because I thought it was ridiculously low in many instances and that it would harm us in what we were doing. So I actually told Andy at a minimum, I believe the council should give him a 5% bonus, which is more closer to what all the municipalities who were happy with their administrators had done. I mean, Hollywood, I think, gave a crazy number to Wazir this year, and that just came out in the paper. Andy, of course, gave me that article on the top of the paperwork. But at a 5% bonus, it's $7,750, and I recommended that in recognition of the tremendous year that the town had in putting over $500,000 back into our reserve fund. Andy, I then looked at the salary again. Andy didn't request any increase in his salary, but I looked through all the charts that I was provided with, and if we thought that Andy was just an average administrator, okay, which he clearly thinks he's better than average, but if we thought he was just average, the average salary for an administrator in a municipality our size across the entire state of Florida is $160,000, and we pay Andy $155,000. So I recommended to the council that you ought to consider modifying his salary from $155,000 to $160,000, provided that you get that same extra year that you got from Marty to make him go through 2020. If not, you get your refund anyway. Again, the PTO to me was never an issue because we have workaholics here. They never use it. So the only reason why they put their PTO at an increased level is really so they could get that extra rollover of days, so that I think 2 years ago, Andy had an anniversary trip or something like that, that it gave them the extra ability to have those days. I told Andy, again, I would recommend that, provided that if he quit, again, we wouldn't be paying for the additional days as part of the compensation for quitting. I once again suggest that the council denies the request to change salaries in the future from simple majority to simple majority. From supermajority, I believe it should remain as supermajority. And that's here for your consideration.
Thank you, Keith. Council?
Can't say enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't say enough. You do a stupendous job.
Yeah.
We're greatly appreciative to have you. Your open door policy, the way you run things is greatly appreciated, and that's what works. We don't get that many complaints from residents because you do see them and do speak to them. So, pal, I'd like to keep you around a lot longer. So add that year and what Keith said, and I'm on board.
Yeah, I agree with the proposal that Keith is recommending. And I could see the severance weeks, in your case, going up to 16 weeks, maximum one additional each year. If normally I've given up on the idea of doing a review because it just. But if I had to criticize one thing, you just make the job look too easy. I know it's not that easy. So, but you do a great job, and we really appreciate you being here. You've got a tremendous staff, but it takes a tremendous leader to lead a tremendous staff, and that's what you are. So, I do hope that you will take on that additional year, and it would be the town would be the great beneficiary for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Gary?
Thank you, Mayor. Did you say yes to the extra year? Oh, we haven't gotten that far. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. It's hard to. I'd love to hear an answer first. Anybody else?
Freddie?
Yeah, Andy, when I first met you, Andy, and everything, and I said, well, here we got a guy, he's never been town administrator before, he's here just to get experience. I said, he's going to leave us. So what I'm asking for you, too, I want those extra years. We took a chance on you, Andy, and we ain't going to let you go.
Get to cut your teeth here.
Listen, the sign of an extraordinary leader is to make sacrifices that adversely impacts that person. And here's a perfect example, with regards to what Andy had proposed. he wanted so much to make sure that Russell got what he felt he deserved, and Marty got what he felt he deserved, that he was agreeing to take really almost nothing. You know, a tremendous amount of respect for that kind of philosophy. You're a special guy, Andy, and there's a confirmation of that. We are very fortunate to have you as our town administrator. There is, you know, by far one of the best that we've ever had here in the town of Southwest Ranches, and so very, very fortunate to have you. I can't think of enough accolades. It's just a pleasure and an honor, and where we were and where we are now, it's just phenomenal. And when you have a leader of your commitment and your exceptional intelligence and your ability to mitigate and work way through some very, very difficult and intricate problems is unique and remarkable. And this town is very, very fortunate to have you at its helm. So I absolutely endorse it. I'm looking for that extra year, because it only protects the town that much longer, because we know what we have. And to get a commitment, you know, moving forward, that extra year, you know, does it mean a lot? Yeah, it does mean a lot, because it gives us another year. It's 365 days under this stewardship. It does mean a lot. I know 2019 is 3 years, but that extra one, it creates another fourth. But Andy, you're just terrific. I don't know what else to say, and we're fortunate to have you. And not only as a town manager with regards to your performance, what you do on behalf of this town each and every day, but you're also a dear friend, and that combination. And I say the same thing with Marty, and I say the same thing with Russell. And don't get me wrong, I'm able to differentiate if we need to, just like every member of this council and the vice mayor is able to do that. But it's not often that you have those relationships, and you have somebody that's as talented as you are in producing these results. You're outstanding, and you're terrific, and I'm hopeful for the extra year, and I absolutely approve. And thank you, Keith, for recognizing, you know, and bringing to our attention what was initially proposed, and I appreciate you making that suggestion. And I wholeheartedly, as does this council unanimously, endorse what you are suggesting, despite Andy's attempt to reduce his consideration so that those that are important to him, that works well, get theirs. So that's just a wonderful quality, Andy, and just tremendous amount of respect and admiration for doing that. So I wholeheartedly endorse what Keith has proposed, and again, the town of Southwest Ranch is very fortunate to have you at its helm. Thank you, Andy. Your turn.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the council for certainly the comments that you made. It's overwhelming to have people share those kinds of thoughts with you about what you're committed to doing every day, day in and day out. Keith, thank you for your comments, even if you betrayed what I was trying to accomplish this evening. But I greatly appreciate that support from you as well. I can tell you that as difficult a job as this can be, it is made so much easier day in and day out by the staff that's here. Some of whom have come in on my watch, but some of them were here, before I was ever here. They make what can be an impossible task in some places fun. While there's days I go out of here with my hair on fire, I have a whole lot more good days than bad days, and a lot of that is due to the team that I am lucky enough to lead and to work with every single day. So while administrators kind of age in dog years, I will can't imagine doing this anywhere else, and I will commit to the extra year. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I think we're ready for motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to move with the proposal that Keith outlined earlier. I don't believe we made any adjustments to that. The 16, maximum of 16 weeks, right.
And the additional year.
Second.
And the additional, yes, and the additional year, which,
Freddie
yes.
Second, yeah.
And Freddie seconded. Okay. Motion is second. Any members of the public wish to comment?
Noah Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. Overall, Andy has done a very good job for our town and a very good job for the council and the residents. But there's a couple areas in the corners which I think he needs to work on. One of those is volunteerism within the town and allowing the staff to reject volunteers when they have shown up at an event for 4 years and they've shown up for the 5th year and they are told they are not wanted, we have a paid employee for that. That he needs to correct. What I'm talking about is the Fun Horse Show. We had people show up and there was only one volunteer that was there, and that was my wife, because she sat down and started doing the applications. I can name the people, but I know of 5 other volunteers that have shown up 4 years in a row and done volunteer work there, and were told they could not do it because there was a paid employee now doing that. I mentioned that to one of the council members, and I was told that he has a problem working with a hybrid situation. That is not my word. Between town staff and volunteers. Either be all staff or all volunteer. That is not the way our town was built. That is not the way our town has been. And I think it is a defect in his personality, and it needs to be worked on. It is minor, but it is a problem. Because volunteerism within our town has always been very large. And if you put out a call tonight for 100 people to show up at a park to do some work, I'm sure you'd have 200. That is the way our town works. So, to cast volunteers to the side is not acceptable. To not work with volunteers and say that the staff is right, you are wrong because you're a volunteer, and we're going to do it the staff way, even though agreements had been made with Andy and he backs out of those agreements, those are defects. And I think he needs to work on those. Thank you.
Dee Schroeder. I had to come up here, Andy. I couldn't leave you out after I took and tried to roast these two guys. I can't compare you to a lot of our town administrators. It would be very unfair and unjust, because we've had a couple of bad town administrators, so we wouldn't be comparing apples to apples. I think overall you've done an extremely well job. You've pleased most of the people, not everybody, because there's no way to please everybody. And the staff, and I think the council and everybody has enjoyed working with you quite well. Again, I agree with you. I think what's made you strong, very strong in this town, is your people. If you didn't take care of your people, they would constantly be leaving. It would make your job extremely rough. You wouldn't know them at all. It'd be like shooting in the dark. You didn't listen to Keith Polikoff twice. Now you're going to listen to him? I mean, come on. You know? Okay? I don't disagree with you. I think it was very humble of you to make sure that part of your staff was taken care of and that you only took a 2%. Again, though, I would like to reiterate to all of you that I think you need a cap. You can't compare yourself. We have never compared ourselves, even in size or whatever. And let's face it, you're all guys sitting up there, so I know you think about size a lot. But we're not like everybody else. And we should cap something reasonable, and it needs something that, it needs to be worked on within the next year, that we do have a set amount. You know, other things can change, personal time, vacations, things like that. But the job itself, the town isn't going to get any bigger unless we buy up Pembroke Pines, which I don't really see that happening. Do you? You know, possibly on a good lawsuit, maybe? Okay. And I don't feel it was unreasonable. Like I said, I think it was very humble on your part, Andy, and I don't have a problem with it. And you've done a good job. Thank you.
Bob Hartman, 5441 Southwest 198 Terrace. What have we been through? Is Andy our sixth town administrator?
No, much more than that. Yeah, it's more than that.
More than that? Oh, all the interims as well. I forgot about Bert.
I should know those by now.
Four-time interim, right? You know, I've worked with all of them over time. The first two wouldn't even return my phone calls, and if John returned my phone call, I never understood what he was trying to tell me anyway. You know, the big thing that's changed here is we have a leader. I work with Andy a lot, and you know, there isn't a time where either he's returning my phone call on the way to work or he's picking something up that I may have forgotten. I mean, he's a pleasure to work with. I'm sure you guys have these experiences on a far more regular basis. One of the big things I see that I judge leaders on, and I work with a ton of them, as you all do, is really the sentiment of their teams. You know, there have been times when I walked through town hall and it was a morgue. Everybody was afraid to talk. Everybody was, you know, pretty subdued because of the leadership. This is a family. I've heard that from team members, and you don't hear that in too many town halls across the country. You know, and that's Andy's leadership style, and I applaud him for it because, you know, like I said, I've worked with a ton of leaders. They're the ones that make their team feel that way, and they have the loyalty of those teams, and they rise. Everybody rises to another level. And Andy's that kind of a leader, and you know, I'm proud to be affiliated with Town Hall because when I'm here, I feel like, you know, there's somebody who will listen. The whole town staff listens, but it starts at the top. Now, I have one criticism. You need to train your leadership team with the same humility so they're not asking for big raises every year. And honestly, on a serious note there, I won't go into anybody's numbers or details, but if we keep giving them an additional 5 days off per year, then they're not going to be here much. So
That's capped.
I agree that, well, it's capped. That piece is capped. But, you know, I think that you probably should task the town administrator or the attorney to come up with tracks on these positions where you've got some guidance, not on an annual basis, but for the longer term, more of a budgeting approach to this so that you can plan it out for the 5 next years. If you're committing to somebody for 4 more years, what does that mean financially? So just some recommendations. But Andy, you're doing a great job, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Astor Knight, 5480 Southwest 178th Avenue. I remember the first time I met Andy, and that was prior to his being employed here. He came by, and one of the first things he did was to make sure he knew about everybody of importance in the town, including Mary Gay. So, you know, that sort of set the tone for what the sort of person he is. And we have seen the leadership that he has brought to this town. And believe me, it's such a great pleasure coming to town hall now and not feeling some ISIS thing around you. It's nice and warm and friendly. And so that is attributed to his leadership. It is great to know that we have somebody like him leading us, and to give the commitment for until 2020 is great. We'd love to have him as long as possible. The whole team is great. And one thing that we can't overlook, and that is, again, the staff that supports him. And I still feel that there are little things in there that need to be fixed as far as they're concerned. and also the council. I remember when we started, we got a pittance. And it's always difficult to have council people getting raises because the citizens don't feel that you do enough to warrant what you're getting. And it's the amount of effort that goes in, the amount of reading that you have to do, the thoughts that you have to put into things. They don't understand this. And the remuneration you're getting is really far below what you should get also. So I think that's something that needs to be reviewed. So we need the whole staff plus the council. So you have a wonderful day, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Astor. Any additional public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. We have a motion and a second to approve, and the conditions and the compensation is, any questions about that? We're clear on that, Steve?
Mayor, I want to make just one final comment just before we close the item as a whole, and that is just really to thank Keith. It's not easy to do what he did here, to be in the middle, to make the recommendations, to do the research, and really, I appreciate what he did to kind of pull this together. I think it once again it's another way that this town staff makes our job easier, and from a team standpoint. So thank you, Keith.
Steve, I promise you, he loves it. He loves it. We love you, Keith.
By the way, the answer is 8.
8, is that what it was? You
Yeah.
figured it out? I should have known that. That was one of my first questions in my deposition.
You know, when I was little, I used to do the King Henry VIII's wives and trying to remember it. And this one, I have Jim Moyer, John Canada, Burt Raines, Chris Russo, Burt Raines, Ken Fields, Stan Morris, Andy Burns.
That's impressive.
Yeah, Burt Raines was in there twice.
Yeah, he was. You're right. He was. He's
Burt
right.
was in there
Yeah,
twice.
he was. I sounded like a babbling idiot. That was the first question I got as part of the deposition. It was fun. Fun. I'll take a motion to adjourn. That concludes our agenda items. Great job again.
You got to vote. You got to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. My goodness. We have a motion and a second to approve. I am so sorry. I get caught up for crying out loud and all these accolades. I lost track. Russ, will you call the question, please? Thank you, Steve.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli?
Yes.
Councilmember Brightcrus?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McKay?
Yes,
Mayor Nelson.
absolutely.
Yes, that concludes the agenda. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Question, I just want to give everybody a heads up. I'm going to Tallahassee 17th and 18th, so if anybody has any specific issues or anybody special you want me to drop in and see or say hello to, just give me a note or drop Andy a thing for my schedule. But I'll be back for the 18th meeting, so whether I'm staying over or not, I'm going to try to go up and back. But
Thank you, Doug. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm sure it's unanimous. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you all.
John.